Will the real Zohran Mamdani please stand up? With only days remaining until the election, the youthful and charismatic candidate for mayor of New York City leads in the polls by about 10%. At 34 years old, Mamdani has emphasized his democratic socialist beliefs, pledging to raise taxes on the wealthy in order to provide New Yorkers with free bus fares and childcare. Joining us to share his thoughts is political commentator Danny Burmawi. He's a former Muslim who converted to Christianity. He holds a master's degree in theological studies, and Danny spends time educating Western policymakers about the challenges posed by political Islam. His latest book is Islam, Israel, and the West. Danny, Zohran Mamdani identifies as a democratic socialist. However, you have reservations about his Islamic faith. His supporters argue that in America, we have religious freedom and his faith should not affect his capability to serve. What concerns you the most about electing a Muslim mayor in New York City?
Well, thank you, Gary, for having me. So basically, since the fall of the Ottoman Empire or the Islamic Caliphate in 1924 and the emergence of different terrorist organizations that seek to reestablish the caliphate, jihad has been hiding under different banners: justice, liberation, resistance. And today in the West, jihad is hiding under the radical left ideologies, the same agendas, the same Islamic jihad is being rebranded in the West. But of course, they are capitalizing on the momentum that the radical left ideologies have acquired in the past few decades. So I'm concerned because Zohran Mamdani, when he, for example, endorsed globalize the Intifada, and he refused to condemn globalize the Intifada, if a communist is saying that word, then probably he's what he means is the communist revolution. However, if you're a Muslim and you say globalize the Intifada, then what I hear is Khaybar, Khaybar ya Yahud. For those who don't understand what Khaybar means, it is that chant, the battle cry that has been repeated by Hamas, the Islamic Jihad, for a very long time. And it's about the battle of Khaybar, or the tribe of Khaybar that Muhammad massacred and forced out of their homes in Al-Madinah. So with this attitude, with this world view, with this belief about the Jews, about Christians, the infidels, I am very concerned about the future of New York City.
When questions about his honesty, his Islamic faith arise, he and his supporters claim that the questioners are Islamophobic. One notable instance was when this issue was featured on the cover of the New York Post. Recently, Mamdani met with Imam Siraj Wahhaj, who is an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and Mamdani pointed out that no one had raised concerns when New York City mayors Bloomberg, de Blasio, or Adams met with Wahhaj. Is Mamdani being treated unfairly because of his Islamic faith?
Absolutely not. I want your audience to hear this, and this is very important. Mamdani's father, in his book, he accused the United States of America to be responsible for 9/11. He almost embraced the same view of the Iranian regime of the West, the great Satan. America is the great Satan. He considered suicide bombing to be a legitimate political action. So when Zohran Mamdani grew up in that environment with that father, you could imagine what does he think about the United States, or how does he see the world. But there's one more thing I want your audience to understand. Muslims, because of the cognitive dissonance that Islam creates, because Islam always accused the enemies of Allah to be evil, to be corrupt, to be this and that, they always have to find proof, to find evidence, to justify the hatred toward the enemies of Allah. And they found the treasure in the radical left ideologies, post-colonialism, and all of this, the school of thought that demonized the West. Now it's being embraced by Muslims, and they are using it to justify their religious sentiments. He believes the same thing that jihadists believe about the West. However, he is using the rhetoric and the terminologies of the radical left in order to justify what he wants to do.
Seems that true Islamic principles are often viewed as incompatible with socialism and communism, but during campus protests, we observed individuals from the LGBTQ plus community, lesbians, gays, transgender people, expressing support for Hamas. However, it's important to note that Hamas would likely harm them if they resided in Gaza. So this raises the question, why do we see this alliance between Muslims and leftists? Why do they embrace one another?
Well, both ideologies don't believe in the concept of nation state, right? The radical left, they want to tear down borders. They want, of course, the ideologues among them, they believe in this human brotherhood, and they want to fight all the power structure. So they are being used as a vehicle by Islamic Jihad in the West. They are helping them tear down the borders, push for immigration policies that help the Islamic movement to bring more immigrants into the West. And at the same time, Islam is an endless reservoir of fury and victimhood and grievances. And that is the currency the left loves. We will see in the future, if this is not stopped, we will see the same scenario that we saw in Iran when the communist and the Muslim movements, they came together to take down the Shah. But once the Ayatollah al-Khomeini took over, he massacred the communists and he hunted them, and they were killed or they ended up in the exile.
Okay, we'll see what happens with the vote in New York City. Less than a week away now. Danny Burmawi, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Gary. I appreciate it.